Back when I started Deadeye, I knew I wanted to innovate the barbecue game. Since day one, we've offered a premium barbecue product unlike anything else on the market. Great Aunt Irene had something special tucked away on a recipe card in her cupboard, and there was no way we weren't going to do something about it. So we decided to take it one step further, introducing Deadeye Superfood Barbecue Sauce. We've got 5 new flavors: Graviola, Acerola, Pink Guava, Acai, and Dragon Fruit. They're the first of its kind, and they're packed with flavor. Find it at your local grocer today or at deadeyebbq.com.
This podcast contains material that is intended for mature audiences and may not be suitable for all listeners. Enjoy.
Here's to the finely tuned athlete on the verge of greatness.
I don't want to get on the bandwagon. I'll burn that wagon down and join the band. Traveling troubadours, terrorizing street corners just to try to get some supper in our hands. Now I waited all my life to get this off my chest, scream bloody murder until someone understands that it ain't about the money, the drugs, or the women. I make this noise just because I can, and we'll all join in to that original sin. So let's get rowdy and reckless. Let's get rowdy and reckless. Let's get rowdy and reckless. Just for the hell of it. Just for the hell of it.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Old Man Strength, a podcast of the Tailgate Society and brought to you by Deadeye Barbecue Sauce, the best damn barbecue sauce in the known universe. You can go ahead and check them out on the web at deadeyebbq.com. Go ahead and find us at thetailgatesociety.com. I am Tim Johnson, joined as always by Chris Shipley. Chris, how are we doing this evening?
Doing good, doing good. How are you?
I am doing well. It has been kind of a whirlwind since last we talked. I've had a little bit of adventures, everything from a flat tire to a sick kid who got sick twice in my car. So it has been nothing short of dad adventures by all means. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to sitting down, having a drink and having a little chat.
Well, it just shows you how different we are in our parenting times right now. I just, the boys, Josh and Jordan, just graduated from high school Saturday. So we went to graduation. We're gearing up for their grad party. And then super excited in a couple months. It'll just be me and Stacy in the house by ourselves. She thinks it'll be a big change. I quickly remind her that the boys never come down and talk to us anyway, so it'll be no different than
Yeah, I can imagine it's slightly different, you know.
Except for at 9 o'clock at night, they won't come down and eat a bunch of shit and get into stuff. And they usually will go, "Are you guys going to bed yet?" "Yeah, we're going to bed." "Why? Do you want to go downstairs and get something to eat now?"
Yeah, I was going to say, your grocery bill is probably going to be the biggest difference. More than anything, which, man, just having a kindergartner, I know how much she eats, but a couple of teenage boys, that has to put a dent in the pocketbook for sure.
Especially when their ADHD medicine wears off. They're like zombies.
Oh, I am sure. Well, good, man. I'm really kind of excited to have some fun conversation tonight. Like I said, it's been a long one and I've needed it. I've got myself I poured myself a drink, but I will go ahead and let you introduce our guest for this evening.
All right. Well, we are super appreciative. I feel like I'm introducing from Rocky 5 or Rocky 4 when Apollo has all these nicknames. And this is how I feel when I'm going to introduce tonight's guest. I would say he goes by QB1, Des Moines hometown team hype man, Des Moines natural born athlete, and producer of the best morning show on KXNO, or any other station, and resident Notre Dame White Sox fan and host of the Sean Taraj Show, Sean Roberts. How you doing, Sean?
I'm doing good. What's going on, guys? I'm excited about this, and yeah, I'm pumped.
How was that hyped?
That was a good intro. You got to give give a sup. You got to throw that in there.
I sound so old when I say that, though.
No, that's fine.
It's so bad.
No, that's fine. But no, that was a good intro. That you pretty much hit on everything right there, except the host of the Saturday morning pregame. You got to put that one in there.
Right.
It's okay. It's okay. People forget about it, but it means a lot to me. So
it's a fun thing. I would imagine that's a hard one to do in the off season, maybe a little bit. It's a lot more fun, I would imagine, for you. Football season, tailgating, people going to the games or whatever, and tuning you guys in. So
yeah, I mean the point behind getting that show is AD always wanted a Saturday show. Our boss Andrew Downs always wanted a Saturday show on KXNO, and there was always like a takedown wrestling, which is great and it was fine. But we wanted something for the up and comers on our station to be able to host and get reps and do that. But also we wanted to bring content to it. And Emery Songer and I started it. And the idea was, man, football season, like we're going to lead up right up to the 11 o'clock kickoffs, put us down at like farmers market, put us out on tailgates, that type thing. And we did, when Iowa State, Iowa, the college game day up in Ames, we did a 4-hour show up there, which isn't easy. And it has a lot of moving parts, especially when we've never done a 4-hour pregame show. But I mean, we had everyone from Gary Dolphin to the Bush Light guy came on. We had not Matt Campbell, the fake Twitter guy, came on our show and stuff. So it was just like all these people. It was just kind of just like crazy. But that's kind of the idea of what we wanted the show to be, is us being out on the town, being out with the people. And now with me and Eric Zamora doing the show. Ideally, that's what we want to continue. And now that the pandemic's over, hopefully we can get it. Well, not over, but stuff's opening up, and hopefully we can get out there and start doing live remotes and stuff. Cause that was kind of the whole point of what we wanted to do with the show in the first place. So haven't been really able to do that in the last year, obviously, but yeah, so it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. The last year has probably put, thrown you guys for quite a curveball, really. Just because not only are you not able to go out and do all these live remotes, just the general kind of tenor of the sports scene has been different. Even when there are games going on, there aren't people at those games. Like everything about that type of mood and that vibe and what you want to talk about has had to have been different and, cast a different light on how you would kind of talk about things like that.
Yeah, just in general, the whole last year, I mean, it seems crazy, but before the pandemic happened, a month and a half prior to that, we were fired, and so that kicks off your year, right? Like you're like, oh, we got all these plans and this and that, and 2 weeks later, boom, you get fired, you become a national story, and then you get rehired. You're out of over 1,000 people that were let go. We were the only 6 that were brought back. I was listed in Rolling Stone magazine as the dude that made minimum wage. And so like, okay, great. That's out there now. So so
just by process of elimination, they figured
out. Right. Like everyone's like, okay, well, Chris Williams isn't making minimum wage, right? Like Heather's not making minimum wage. Let's do the math here. So that was, I guess, if there was a way for me to be in Rolling Stone magazine, that was it. The year starts off like that. We get rehired, which was awesome. And everyone was awesome. It was so great. From advertisers to listeners to Murph and Andy to everyone that stood up for us. And that's something that I know none of us will ever forget, but I definitely will never forget. And then, a month and a half later, the world shuts down and it's like, okay, we get this new FM signal. We get all this new stuff that's supposed to whole reason for bringing us back. And we get tossed this curveball where sports are taken away from us. Just life in general was kind of taken away from us, and we're not allowed to do remotes, and we're not allowed to, you sit there and you go, what do we talk about? Well, like Chris, as you know, listening to the Morning Rush, we're like, this is prime for us. Like, you kidding me? We got to go on here 2 hours a day and just have fun. We don't really have to cover anything. Like, this is great. But you go through that with no sports, and then sports come back, and then you have the George Floyd incident happen, and you have, obviously it was a national thing, but stuff here happened locally, and so you cover that stuff, and it was just a really, really weird year, and you get thrown all these different curveballs, and you have to adjust, and now we're finally being, I think when baseball came back, okay, we're like, all right, we got baseball to cover, right? Like, NBA playoffs we can talk about. They're in a bubble. Is anything interesting happening down in the bubble? But when football came back, it kind of gave us, okay, now we can start getting back into getting ready for game weeks and prepping that stuff. And yeah, but it's been a crazy last year as far as being able to cover stuff.
Well, I will tell you, just from my perspective, and I picked up on it a little bit, I think you're selling yourself a little short too, in that you went through some personal stuff there too.
Yeah.
And I'm not asking you to dive deep into that, but what I want to bring up is that through all that stuff, everybody else is going through all this stuff the same as you are with the pandemic, and you just lost your job and then come back or whatever. But then you had some personal stuff that had went on. And I remember you talking about having the courage enough to go and try to get some help. And
yeah.
I always, and again, not asking you to talk deep into that, but I just wanted to point out how admirable I thought that was for somebody, not to sound condescending, but I'm 50 years old, right? You're a much younger kid than I am. For you to be able to recognize that and know that you needed to get some help and whatever, you should be commended for that, and for being open about it in case there was anybody else out there that was hurting or things like that. It's kind of a big deal. So I admired you for that. And as I've seen on Twitter and on the phone calls and on Facebook or whatever, you're an open book on that show, and you are a big part of that show, and you're a lot, and it's really enjoyable to listen to you. But I think sometimes people, man, take some shots at you that I just don't think are fair sometimes. And sometimes as a dad, I'll sit there and I'll go, man, you don't have to make a comment about every single thing. But man, you go on the radio every morning and you take it, and you're a good sport about it. And I just think that's commendable.
I appreciate that, Chris. And yeah, the mental health aspect of things, man, like, I just found myself in a really weird place mentally. And it wasn't like, I never had any like crazy thoughts or anything like that. But, I needed to talk to somebody that didn't know who I was. And I needed to talk to somebody that didn't give two craps of what I do or what I'm about or anything. And I just needed someone to vent to about certain things in life, and also make changes. Things weren't working out in my life. And it was like, okay, well, why aren't certain things working out? Like, what am I doing, or what are certain situations? And so just being able to talk to somebody and go through that. And I've been going to therapy now every other week. It was every week. Now it's down to every other week. I mean, for over a year now. And it's been just awesome. And I look forward to it. And it's like, now I don't have a lot of issues, right? But I look forward to it because I can just talk to somebody. I'm not talking to my girlfriend. I'm not talking to my family. I'm talking to someone who has really gotten to know me in a different way than everyone's ever gotten to know me. But yeah, no, it's funny you brought up the, me being vulnerable and putting myself out there with that stuff. And I was like, if I can have a platform, I don't think I really have a big platform at all, but if I have any sort of platform, that it's okay for people to go to therapy. And you'd be amazed at how many men have DM'd me, have reached out to me saying like, hey, I've always thought about going to therapy. I've never done it. I've been thinking about it for like 10 years. I'm going to go next week. I'm going to set up my appointment, and I'm all for it. And I always say too, if anyone ever needs anyone to talk to, DM me, Like I have no problem talking and just talking through trying to help people's problems, because it sucks when you're going through shit, and if I can be someone to lean on, then absolutely I have no problem doing that.
Tim and I have talked about the same thing, and part of the reason why we like to do this podcast is there's a lot of life experiences that I've lived and that he's lived that we've talked about and been open about, whether it was my daughter who is transgender, or my cancer diagnosis, or a lot of the things that I go through with my dad, and all the things that Tim has talked about. We joke, we probably have 7 or 8 listeners, but man, if 1 or 2 of those guys get something out of it, and it is nice to get that DM or whatever from somebody that maybe listened to an episode and said, hey, what you said really touched me, or really, that just makes it worth it for me.
Yeah, for sure. And I love when I get those messages, man, because it means that I've had an impact, and that person felt comfortable enough to DM me or tweet at me or whatever the case is, to let me know, like, hey, because you put this out on Twitter that you love that you've been going to therapy and you love it and this and that, I feel comfortable enough to either reach out to you and ask how it was, or that because of you, I'm going to go. And that's an impact right there. And that's, I want to do good in the world, and for what I can be able to do. And I might not make a lot of money and be able to donate to charities and all that, but if this is a way that I can help, then this is a way for me to help.
Well, we already know that you make minimum wage, so yeah, of course.
Right. Yeah. Well, hey, that changed now. That was part of me coming back. That had to change. So
got his name as part of the intro. Now he's getting.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
That's
No,
right.
I can thoroughly appreciate that. If there's one thing I've tried to do over the last year, is be more open and honest about my mental health challenges, be open and honest about being on medication, about what my diagnoses are, and trying to destigmatize mental health challenges, because there's certainly a part where it's gotten slowly better, but Chris can talk at length about what it was like in the 80s, where any man would admit any type of weakness whatsoever. You just didn't do that type of thing. And so I think being more open and honest about the challenges that are going on, because everyone is human. And I think just allowing people to be human, and most of the problems that we talk about, we run into today, with quote unquote toxic masculinity or whatever, it's just because it's all a huge mask for insecurity. And so I would rather,
absolutely, yeah, no, for sure,
I'd rather be able to talk about these things open and honestly, and let people feel free to talk about the things that they're not secure about, so that it doesn't turn into something negative down the road.
Absolutely. And like, for me, I'm open and honest about it because I just don't give a crap, like I whatever Joe, who's been sitting in his basement, if he wants to make a comment about me going to therapy, then whatever. Like, if you think that makes me soft or whatever the case is, I don't care. I'm who I am, and I have no problem with being who I am. I always want to strive to be a better person, but also we all go through shit. And if you can have the opportunity to talk about it or vent about it or get help on certain things, go do it. And if you judge someone for doing that, then I mean, you need to go talk to somebody. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Tim had mentioned, the 80s and the stigma of the 80s and me being older and understanding where that's coming from. It's still hard for me to admit sometimes when I am having a rough time or whatever. And I've had some rough patches here the last few months with, just things with career wise and other things. And I've got 2 or 3 things that are in kind of a hopper that I've been waiting on, and they're at a standstill. And I had a conversation with Stacey yesterday that I don't know why I'm sad. And I feel even worse when I burden her with it, because I don't want her to worry about me. So then I just keep my mouth closed and I'm silent. And I don't know how to rectify that either, because I don't want her to worry about me. And it's that whole thing, Tim, that you had talked about. I feel like I'm the man and I'm the husband and I should take care of that and not worry and burden her with that. And I need to understand that that's not how that works. But it's just second nature.
It's
to me.
hard. It's hard, Chris.
Yeah.
Like what you're talking about, like, and this is something that I always battle. And I don't know if it's kind of if it's just around the same thing, but for me, I was talking about, and part of this when I was had this whole, I wanted to change my mindset on life and change how I approach things, and I was reading these mental health books and how to change your brain and all this stuff. And so allowing the universe to work, and, something that my therapist and I have been really hammering is how I used to really struggle with when things are going good to wait for another shoe to drop type thing. And I would start looking for the negatives to happen. Like, okay, things are going too good right now. When am I going to get a flat tire? When is my car going to shut down? Or when's something going to happen to me? And I had to stop thinking that way, because what it was doing was it was taking me away from the moments, and it was taking me away from the day-to-day stuff, like being in that day, and enjoying the good times, and not being like, okay, things are going too good, I'm going to take the good stuff and that good mood and that happiness and look into some bullshit that's going to ruin my mood and put me down, and I struggle with it all the time, whether it comes with financial stuff or if I know I have a busy week in a week or 2 weeks, whatever the case is, instead of just living in that now and enjoying the time with my girlfriend or just sitting here and relaxing for once. I struggle with that balance of, man, just stop thinking about the stuff that's going to happen, living the now, because the universe is going to work in its way. And that's why I just focus on being a good person all the time, because I don't want bad karma. But that's the thing for me, is like, just live in the happy moments, and don't worry about all the other bullshit. It's hard not to, and it's hard, when you have things on your mind, but worry about the happy moments and live in that day.
For sure. Absolutely. Well, let's talk about living in the day. Let's talk about Chicago, growing up in Chicago.
Yeah.
I lived in a small market, Des Moines, my entire life. So I have no concept of growing up with major sports teams in my town and so on. My first question is why are you a Giants fan and not a Bears fan? What is wrong with you?
So,
I grow up in Chicago and be a Giants fan. And I think it has something to do with your middle name, which makes me want to punch you right in your face, because I can't.
Right. So I'm from Hanover Park, Illinois, which is a northwest suburb, about 25, 30 minutes out of Chicago. And I grew up a Giants fan. So my dad is from New Jersey, lived there his whole life, and then went to the Navy and had to go to boot camp in Great Lakes Boot Camp in Illinois. Then he met my mom, and then he ended up just moving to the suburbs with my mother. And when I was born, my dad was Big Blue all the way, right? And so when I was born, I didn't really have a choice. And then, my middle name is Philip, after Phil Simms. So
I mean, it could have been worse. It could have been Hostetler. So,
hey, well, and that's why I always defend Phil on the Morning Rush when Heather and Travis want to poke fun at him or whatever. I'm like, hey, remember, I'm named after that man. But yeah, my middle name is Philip, after Phil Simms. I've been a Giants fan, ever since I was born, and it's growing up. It was always weird with my buddies because they're all diehard Bears fans, and it's always that awkwardness too when someone's like, when we start talking about, oh, you're from Chicago, so like, what do you think of the Bears? And it's like, I'm not a Bears fan, So it's like I follow them, and I obviously am close to it, but I don't care if they win or lose, and I kind of have fun with my Bears friends
in your
with certain things.
You kind of grew up in the whole Curtis Enos, Cade McNown.
I did.
Era, so I can see why you wouldn't be a big fan of that.
I did. Yeah. The first sign of would have been 2001 when the Bears played they went to the playoffs This was before even like Soldier Field was redone. This was old Soldier. The Bears had Mike Brown.
Yes.
And he had those like back-to-back games where he won a game on an interception for a touchdown, which is like
Cleveland, and the other one was against San Francisco.
That was the first time.
I remember exactly what games you're talking about.
That was the first time in my life that the Bears were relevant, and I didn't know how to take it because the year before that, when I was in 6th grade, the Giants went to the Super Bowl and played the Ravens. So I was all.
Oh my God, I'm so old.
But like, I remember, and that's why like I have fun with being a Giants fan when Vikings fans want to have start talking crap, because I just go 41-0 because that was the NFC Championship game to go to the Super Bowl, and the Vikings were picked by everybody.
How's that feel?
And the Giants went out there and kicked their ass.
Yeah.
Well, to kick their ass.
Yeah, well, as a Vikings fan, I'm very familiar with losing games that were just in Minnesota sports in general. I'm very familiar with losing games that you're favored in.
I'm going to take it that you're a Twins fan too.
I am. We have just won 5 of the last 6. I'm going to pretend like we're actually doing something reasonable here, but 5 of the last 6 is pretty darn impressive.
That's good.
We finally won our first extra innings game of the entire season, thanks to a 3-run 10th inning. So I'm going to pretend like we can put something together and we're not 9.5 games out of first, or
as a
9 games behind 500.
As a White Sox fan, the Twins aren't dead until the division is officially clinched. So when everyone's like, "Oh, we just buried the Twins," I was like, "Stop! I've seen too many times. I've watched too many Twins seasons that have ruined my fun as a baseball fan." Like, Twins are fine, and until they're officially dead or they sell at the trade deadline, they're in it, no matter how many games back they are.
Well, we don't have enough to sell at the trade deadline anyway, so I don't know that we're going to be sellers or buyers at the trade deadline. I think we're going to just be watchers.
Yeah, well, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you just lose to the Yankees in the playoffs anyway. So
yes, there's that too. All of our young talent can't stay healthy, and all of our old talent is too old to be attractive to anyone. So
yeah, well, I know that right now. But yeah, no, growing up there, growing up in the northwest suburbs of Chicago and being a Giants fan, Chris, was interesting for sure. That was different.
And then on top of it, a White Sox fan, which I don't hate the White Sox, even though I'm a Cubs fan. I just don't. I'm not in that city, so I don't get the full hate.
Yeah,
but imagine, especially you being on the north side, that. Yeah. I mean, was that just pure rebellion? Like, that had to be just a middle finger. Like, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm going for the White Sox.
Well, so here's the thing: is again, my dad being from New Jersey, when he moved to Chicago, he was a Mets fan. And back in the 80s, you didn't have MLB TV. You didn't have – so for him, he couldn't follow the Mets anymore.
Right.
And so he kind of adopted the Sox because he was like, there's no way I could be a Cub fan because of growing up in, with the Mets and the Cubs were a rival. Yep. Yeah, they were a rival. And, so he was like, I'll make you a White Sox fan because that was kind of the team he adopted. And my mom's a Cub fan. My grandma, my mom's mom was a Cubs fan. And so that was weird, but yeah, I was, and frankly, and I've told this story a couple times on the Morning Rush, but my dad being a Mets fan, when I was born, I was almost named Mookie after Mookie Wilson, who hit the ball in between Buckner's legs. So I was almost Mookie Phillip Roberts, which, to be honest, in the radio world would have been extremely awkward to be like, Mookie in the morning. And it's, just, some 31-year-old white guy is like, hey, what's going on? But yeah, no, it's almost named Mookie. And, but yeah, grew up a White Sox fan in the northwest suburbs, which like my high school had a mixture of White Sox fans, but like there wasn't we were well outdone by Cubs fans. So yeah,
Mookie wasn't even his real name. I just want to point that out. It's a nickname. His name was William. You could have been named William in his honor.
No, it would have been Mookie. I would have rather had been Mookie than William. So
Be the whitest Mookie you've ever seen.
right.
Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah, no, it would have been extremely awkward. That's for sure. I don't know.
I'm constantly jealous when people talk about baseball and going to see baseball games because I've yet to ever go see a major league game. It just has never seemed to happen.
Ever.
And I've been to a couple NFL games, so on. I've never, but yet again, I have planned a trip to Chicago to go see the Cubs Cardinals with a buddy of mine who's a Cardinals fan.
That'll be fun, man.
Looking at like June 18th. So
that'll be fun. You'll enjoy it. Enjoy it. And do you plan on staying for the weekend?
We're probably it's a Saturday night game, so we'll probably drive over early Saturday morning, go to the game, and then crash somewhere and then drive home.
Get there. I would get there, leave early in the morning, and try and spend a few hours in Wrigleyville. You'll enjoy it. As a Cub fan, for me, that's hell on earth for me. So but no, you'll enjoy it. It's something that I feel like, as much as I hated it, it's something that every baseball fan should do. Is go see a game at Wrigley, and I definitely would go see a game at Fenway if you ever get the opportunity to.
I would love that. My buddy, who's a Cardinals fan, during the Cubs Indians World Series, I'm sitting at home. I get a text message. I look. He's in the stadium at the Indians stadium at the World Series game, and he took a picture. And I was like, you motherfucker. I was like, what? He's like, oh, we had a business trip and we were able to score some tickets. And I was like, first of all, you don't even like the Cubs.
Right.
And you better not be buying a fucking Indians hat. I'll be super fucking pissed. And the next picture I got was him in an Indians hat. And I was super pissed.
You better cherish that, because was it a Chief Wahoo hat?
I think so.
Yeah, it's not good. That's not going to be around.
R.I.P. Chief Wahoo. Right? Legendary logo there.
One of the favorite trips I ever did, this was probably 15, 16 years ago. There were 7 other guys and we hired a driver and rented a van, and he drove us from Minneapolis down to Kansas City. So we watched Royals White Sox at Kauffman. And then he slept in the van while we tailgated and went to the game and all of that stuff. And then he drove us overnight to Chicago, with a stop in Columbia, Missouri, of all places. I wouldn't recommend that for anyone. But drove us overnight to Chicago so we could watch Cubs Cards at Wrigley the next day, and then drive us back home.
That's a fun little trip.
It was great. I mean, that 8 dudes in a van, that thing smelled awful.
Can imagine.
Well, actually, it smelled good for a while because my friend Dustin got sick in the thing, and so it had to go get detailed. But yeah, to do a whirlwind of Kauffman and Wrigley in 48 hours and back home was a lot of fun. So yeah, Chris, I agree with Sean. Take your time to get in and enjoy Wrigleyville and that whole experience, especially you as a Cubs fan. But even as
you're gonna have to drink it in, man.
Even as a neutral third party, I've done it 3 or 4 times, and man, it's a good time.
We were in St. Louis 2 years ago for vacation, and we went down to the Arch, and there was not a game that day, but we went and ate at Ballpark Village, walked right outside the stadium. And as much as I hate the Cardinals, I've actually seen 2 baseball stadiums because I took a tour of Oriole Park 2 years before that for a business trip. I got to go and go inside there, so that was super cool as well. But
sure,
there is a very nice picture of me and Caitlin with thumbs down in front of the Cardinals stadium. It was all good. But I can imagine. I mean, just being at Ballpark Village on a game day, that's a great thing to look at. I mean, that was super cool. I like those places where you walk in and it's almost like you turn the corner from a regular city street, and boom, there's the stadium and it's right there, right? It's not.
That's how Wrigley is, man.
Somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, and
Wrigley, you're walking, you see like restaurants, and then all of a sudden, you know, you got apartments, and all of a sudden, boom, like, oh shit, there's a baseball stadium right here.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah.
So you said your dad influenced you to be a Giants and a White Sox fan. Let's talk about your dad a little bit. Tell me about your dad. What's your dad like?
My dad is he's a character. I love him so much, and you know, he probably doesn't think this, but I look at him as one of my best friends. He's honestly, like you talked about earlier, Chris, like how I put up with so much shit, you know.
Oh yeah,
he made me so mentally tough when it came to stuff, just in general. When I was a kid, and a lot of it, he was my little league coach. He was my youth football coach. But he was harder on me than any of the other kids, which I understood. And I totally got that. But he expected the best out of me. He expected, you know, me to carry myself a certain way and, to be a leader on some things. But my dad he has so much fun, and it's his personality. Like, you know, part of the reason that I wanted to get into broadcasting in a sense was obviously growing up and listening to sports radio in Chicago. But my dad, so he was a board member for our youth football organization, and then became the president of our town, the Hanover Park Hurricanes. But he would do the announcing for all the games. And it's just so, like, I was around it in a sense. I know it's youth football and all that stuff, but I was around seeing my dad around a microphone and playing music in between timeouts and all that stuff. And it's something that I fell in love watching him do, and something that part of why I wanted to go in and do what I wanted to do, what I'm doing now. But my dad's he's such a fun guy. And he's been through a lot the last few years, and part of it sucks because I can't be there with him, you know. And I think that's the hardest thing about living where I live and being away from home. Like, trust me, being away from home has its perks, and living here, and I love living in Des Moines, but there's things that have happened over the last 10 years that it's like, man, I wish I could be home to be with my dad, or, you know, stuff. But no, he's an awesome dude. He loves his White Sox. He actually, before I got on here, he called me and he was venting about the loss today, to the Cardinals. So that's the one thing, like, we could sit there for hours and talk about how the White Sox are doing, or and it's stuff that sometimes I get so wrapped up in my life and being away from home, and wrapped up in, you know, just my everyday routine of going to work at, you know, 5 a.m. and getting off work from my full-time job at 5:30. And then I go and get a workout. I spend time with my girlfriend. I walk my dog, whatever the case is. And then also it's like, oh crap, I need to call my dad, you know? And sometimes I get so wrapped up, and I wish I didn't. But the times that I get to talk to him, I love it. And I love him so much, you know. And he's come out here a few times, and he's come on our radio show a couple times, and I think I get, like, my confidence from him, you know, because he has a very confident personality.
I've heard him on the radio a couple times. He does not lack the confidence.
No, he doesn't.
That should tell you, it's probably been 3 or 4 years since he's been on the radio, and I still remember just enjoying listening to talk about you and just his stories or whatever. So that shows you the kind of impact that he had, I think, just on a short time on somebody.
Yeah.
Is that cool?
And, you know, you talked about when he came on the radio and stuff. And for me to sit there, and I'm doing a show, and I was able to have my dad on the same show as me in a completely different state than I grew up in. And for him to see it firsthand, like me living out my dream, but also him coming on my show and doing all that. That was awesome that Travis and Heather allowed that to even, you know, happen. But yeah, he's a character for sure. And his confidence does not lack. That's one thing. But no, he's awesome. And I think his work ethics definitely wear off on me too. And I mean, the guy's was a welder for 25 years, you know, and doing stuff that he didn't really like, but did it because he had to put a roof over our heads and everything. So I would definitely say my work ethic, my work ethic comes from both my parents. But my dad for sure, working, 8-9 hour days, whatever the case is, getting off work, throwing me in a car. It's like, okay, I got to go coach Little League practice for 2-3 hours. Then we get home at 9 o'clock and it's just like, he took that time instead of his relaxation time and all that. So, but yeah, no, he's awesome.
That's it's one thing that my dad always said was, I always want you to have it better than I did.
Yeah.
Right? That's every father's wish for their children, is to have their sons or daughters do better than they ever imagined that they could. And that I see it in my kids now and have those aspirations. I tell Caitlin all the time, hell, I flunked out of college after 3 semesters. You're passing with flying colors or whatever. Although I do remind her that technically, because of COVID, she had to come home after 3 semesters and had to go home. She couldn't go back to school. Not necessarily the same reason, but I would like to get over her head that she didn't last her first 3 semesters any longer than I did.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, no, he, it's funny, Chris, that both my parents have pushed me to chase my dreams. And that's something, there were times that they were like, all right, what are we doing here? You're making $7.25 an hour. You've been working in the same position for 4 years. Like, what's happening here? You're going to be 30 in a couple years. What are we doing? And which I totally get, but at the same time, both of them kept pushing me like, you're going to, this is going to happen. Keep doing it, keep going after it and all that. So it's very important to have your kids back when it comes to that aspect of things. And I'm very lucky that both my parents, as much as we'd have reality talks, about certain things, but at the same time, it was like, if this is something that you want to do, go after it, go get it, so, and I'm still trying to get it and get after it. So,
yeah, as a dad, I think what I want more than anything from my daughter, I want her to be happy and I want her to treat other people well. Those are the two most important things to me. Does that mean that I want to help her to be the best she can be and help, remind her and make sure that she's taking care of herself, or I'm taking care of her, all of those things for sure. I want her to learn all those life skills and all those things along the way. But at the end of the day, I'm going to feel most successful if she's taking care of herself, that she's happy and she's treating other people well. And so sometimes I think it's hard for parents to see that. So kudos to your parents for for getting that, for sure.
Yeah. Well, and they've drilled into me, just always be a good person, always be a good person. And when you can do stuff for people or treat people the right way. I mean, in 8th grade, I got the Caring Award for Character Counts. Like I care about people. I want people. I don't want people to get picked on. I don't want, and maybe, and Chris, again, it goes back to like, when people give me crap, I think I'm just so like, I don't care. I'm going to continue to be a good person. I'm going to continue to try and have positive vibes towards people. And I don't let people bring me down. I don't let people, I'll take that. That's fine. Now, there are times where people cross a line that I'm like, okay, I'm going to say something back now. Like,
there's been a couple of times I've seen it and I'm just like, man,
there's times where people cross the line and I respond or whatever the case is. But for the most part, I just ignore the stuff or I have fun with it. I think that's the other thing too, is like, I'll have a smart ass comment back or, I don't take myself too serious.
That whole Iowa State Notre Dame.
I had so much fun with that, Chris. That was one of my funnest couple months on social media I've ever had.
Dude,
because
you hammered us. We all perfectly deserved after we got our asses beat.
The thing was I wasn't going to be like that. I didn't want to be like that, But after I started getting trash talked, I was like, okay. And I never said anything. I was like, I'm going to just not saying anything. I'm not saying anything, you know. And really what pushed me over to the edge with the whole thing was the day before the game, everyone was tweeting at me about how the pep rally was sold out for Iowa State and no one showed up for the Notre Dame one. And they just, I mean, I was getting it from all angles over it. And I finally, so when the game happened and Notre Dame started to just really put it on them, I finally was like, and I had a couple Jamesons in me. I was like, you know what? I was like, I want blood. I want there to be no doubt in this game who the more, you know, powerful team is and all that. And it just, weeks of trash talk just started oozing out of me. And I had fun with it. And the thing too is, as much as I'm having fun with it, like a lot of the stuff that I do is sarcasm. You know, I don't take personal shots. I don't do any of that. I'm having fun. You know, if you want to trash talk me, I'm going to trash talk you. But at the same time, like, I will be completely honest. Like, I don't want Iowa State to be bad. You know, I want them to do good. But if you're going to come at Notre Dame, I'm going to defend myself and I'm going to stand up for them. But you know,
I get it. As much crap as I took from Iowa fans losing all the time, when they went out to Pasadena and got their asses absolutely waxed by Stanford, man, the tweets and the Facebook posts were firing for me. I mean, and I was like, I don't care if they beat us 50-0 earlier this year. All the shit talking that you people got, you deserve every piece your way.
Yeah, and you know, like that was such a fun couple months, and that was a fun day for me. In fact, it got to a point where my buddy Teddy texted me and was like, he's like, all right, get off your phone for the rest of the night. You need to put Twitter down. But I was like, but I'm having so much fun. Come on. But I also, you know, the thing too is, like, I have fun, guys, but I also, at the same time, I don't want to be an asshole or a douchebag. And that's like, for me, I want to have fun with certain situations. I want to make light of certain situations, because I think people take stuff way too serious.
Oh yeah.
You know, and that's when personal shots start happening, and the personal shots started coming at me. And I was like, I'm sorry that Notre Dame won 33-9. You don't have to sit here and start taking personal shots at me, you know, but you do you type thing. But I like to just have fun with situations. Like, life's too short to always be 100% serious about everything, you know?
And I think that's something that people sometimes have a hard time separating from.
Mm-hmm. That's why Twitter sucks, Tim.
Yeah,
because you can't have a conversation and you can't tell tone.
But yeah, for sure. I also just think just people in their sports team in general, like, people get so attached to that when you're attacking not even attacking, but when you're making fun of their sports team, they take that as a personal attack.
Yeah.
Right. And
sure.
So to your point about there not being tone that's clear, they now went, okay, well, he said something, and boy, this became a personal attack because it's an attack on the school. It's an attack on me. And he's saying this with all sincerity, whereas you're just doing it lighthearted. And we can love sports without, you know, having it be any skin off of my back if my team doesn't succeed.
Right. I mean, guys, that day I had people wanting me to get fired. Like, I had people legitimately like,
so dumb.
Like, you need to lose your job because of how you're talking about Iowa State. And I was like,
so dumb.
All I'm saying is what happened on the football field.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not taking any shots at Iowa State. I'm talking about, you know, that Jones, the running back for Notre Dame, went 80 yards and stiff-armed a guy for 15 yards into the end zone. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. I'm not, you know, I came off as such a villain, which is fine. Like, whatever. I came off as this Iowa State hater. Like, Heather plays into it now. Where it's like, oh, you just hate on Iowa State. It's like, no, I don't. You know, Do I poke the bear a little bit? Yeah, because I can, because I have no skin in the game. I don't root for Iowa State and I don't root for Iowa. I live in an outside world living in Des Moines, like I have no affiliation. I have no ties to either. So I try and give an honest outsider's opinion on things. And do I poke the bear? Yeah, because it's fun and I'm trying to have fun with things. It's okay to, have some fun banter back and forth, but people take stuff way too serious. Like you said, me taking a shot at their sports team is like, I need to be sued or, I need to lose my job.
Sean, it's an unwritten rule in radio. Don't you know about unwritten rules?
No, unwritten rules suck. They suck. They're the worst.
What do they say? You don't want me to bat flip and trot around the bases and strike me out. I mean, it's the same thing, right?
Exactly.
You don't want
exactly.
You don't want to talk. You don't want me to talk shit. Then don't lose 38-9.
Right.
And it is what it is.
That's my thing too. Like, I play in a men's wood bat league. Like, I don't take myself too serious there. Like, I played college baseball. My whole life, baseball was serious and it was fun. Don't get me wrong, but my whole baseball career from little league all the way up until college was you take every game serious. It was your life. It was your life. Right. And now I play in a wood bat league. I pay to play in the league. If I hit a single and I bat flip and jog to first base, I'm going to have some fun doing it. Like I'm paying for this privilege. Like,
right.
And if you got a problem with it, throw at me. Sure. I don't care. I'll bat flip when I go run the first base after you hit me. But like, I want to have fun. I want to like enjoy the time that I can actually still put on cleats and play baseball. And that's if bat flipping singles and stuff pisses people off or rubs people the wrong way. I don't care. That's a you problem. That's not a me problem.
No, I love it. I was lucky enough to do fantasy baseball camp when the All-Star game was up here in Minneapolis. And I so badly wanted to bat flip after like a routine single just to be an ass.
Dude, I'm telling it's fun. It's fun. Yeah, I do it.
Right. If not for, like, Tim Laudner probably would have yelled at me just for that, but it would have been worth it just to get Tim Laudner yelling at me. But yeah, that would have been so much fun.
Listen, you don't think that there's been times I've played golf and hit a shot right down the fucking fairway and I've spun that club in my hand a little bit, longer just to stare at it. Let my buddies go, yeah, look at that, right fucking down the middle.
Chris, I'll hit a shot now. I'm a lot better golfer now than when I played with you a couple years ago, but I'll be in the fairway now and I'll hit a shot that like goes a little bit left to the green and it probably ends up on like the fringe of the green, but I club twirl it. I walk it off like I just put that baby 2 feet from the hole.
Snap that glove, putter out.
Hey, I didn't hit it in the woods. This is a win.
Right. That leads me into I wanted to ask you because you played Grandview, you played baseball for Grandview, and that brought you to best college sports moment for you.
Oh God, this is
Sean. I've never seen humble Sean before. This is interesting.
Honestly, probably one of the best sports moments I had in college. Like I had some at my JUCO that were cool. Like I pitched a lot of big games and stuff. I pitched against the defending national championships or champions in JUCO. They played in our conference, so I wasn't like, we were playing in the playoffs or anything. But that was really cool because everyone pretty much came back for them. They were like a huge, heavily freshman class when they won, and they were all sophomores. And it was this big deal that I got to start against them. But I would say probably one of the cooler things I did actually was I actually got to start when we played Iowa. My senior year at Grandview, we played Iowa. It was like it was our spring break, and we went to Iowa. We traveled to Iowa City, and it's on their schedule. I mean, it was a regular season game. It was on their schedule, and I was lucky enough to get to start. Now it didn't go my way, and I went out there. It was a staff game, so I pitched the first inning. But it was good. But I got the honor to start it, and that was pretty badass. And to know that, like, man, I got to pitch against a Division I team, on a Division I field, you know, and a pretty well-known university. It wasn't like we were playing Chicago State or anything like that. You know, like I was pitching against Iowa, and that was pretty badass. I would also say probably one of the cooler moments I had was being able to pitch in the Metrodome. Growing up being a White Sox fan and that being just a house of horrors for the White Sox. And to be able to pitch on that mound and for me, as many games as I've watched, just baseball in general on TV, played in the Metrodome, to sit there and pitch on that mound and to do it in front of my dad. My parents traveled up for that game and were able to watch me pitch on a major league field, you know, or was a major league field. And let's
be fair. That was a minor league field where Major League Baseball sometimes played.
I can tell you, warming up in the outfield and running the warning track and actually feeling the tarp for the fence. It's interesting. But I was like, oh man, okay, this is a baggie like everyone talks about. But I would say for sure the Iowa start and being able to start in the Metrodome and pitch on that mound and be in those dugouts. And in those dugouts, major league guys had autographed all over the dugouts. Like, I mean, if you played in there, you found a place to autograph. So that was kind of cool. And I don't know when that became a thing, if it was like the last year that the Metrodome was going to hold a major league game or whatever the case was, but that was pretty sweet to see.
Yeah, I think they started doing that as kind of a farewell to the Metrodome.
Farewell, yeah.
Yeah.
And you didn't sign that, Sean? You didn't stick your name in there somewhere?
No, I was worried about winning the ball game, Chris. I went.
That's what I'd have done. I'd have put my name right in there somewhere.
I went 1-1 in the Metrodome. I started 2 games up there, different road trips, but we played at 2 separate times in my senior year. We played up there the second series of the year, and then we came back like a month later and played up there. But yeah, that was no, I wasn't worried about signing anything at that point in time. So.
Worst moment, worst college moment.
Man, I would say the worst college moment I had was losing our last game when I was at Grandview. I had a lot of crappy moments, don't get me wrong, but the one that I always remember is the game that we lost. I didn't play in it. I didn't pitch in it. We were down in Paducah, Kentucky for our regional, and we lost to Peru State the first game down there, and then we lost to Bellevue, like college in Nebraska, I think Bellevue, whatever. But the reason that sucked was because you don't that's your last time playing really competitive baseball. Like I obviously wasn't going in the pros. I didn't know that there was a men's league, you know, that I could still play in. So for me, like walking on that bus for the last time, I cried for 45 minutes because your whole life growing up playing Little League and growing up playing in high school, and then you get the opportunity to play in college, like everything worked. Everything you did was up to that moment. Like everything you ever worked for, all those times in the batting cages, throwing bullpens, towel drills, you know, picking schools, all that stuff. It's all over now. And it's like, I'm no longer a college baseball player. What am I going to do? I will never put on metal spikes again. I mean, this is all my thoughts running through the head on the bus as I'm bawling my eyes out. But like, I'm never putting on metal spikes again for a competitive baseball game ever again. I never, you know, it's just, that was probably the worst moment because I was so sad. And I was so sad that it was over. And I learned a lot about that. And it's something that, you know, when you can talk to younger kids and stuff and to cherish those moments, cherish going to practice, cherish all that stuff that you think that you don't want to do, and do it and have fun doing it, because just like that, it's over. And that was probably, that was when I say cried, I mean, I bawled my eyes out we all did. I mean, everybody that was a senior on that bus, you know, because you bust your ass and just like that, it's all over. And
yeah.
It's a pretty shitty feeling, to be honest with you. And then you realize, well, all we can do now is go have some beers and drink all this away. So
So here you are, you know, what, almost a decade removed from all of that. How fast can you throw?
I think like 2 years ago, I was at the iCubs game and I threw like 74. My shoulder is absolutely shot. It probably needs surgery, honestly. But I won't do it. Like now in my wood bat league, I play third base. I might have a throw a game, which is good for me. But like I take like 4 ibuprofens before every game because my shoulder it's so messed up. And but it's weird because I'll throw a baseball and it hurts, but if I throw a football like I did that Barnstormers tryout, arm was fine. So it's like a completely different throwing motion that I've had to like alter. But if I warmed up, I probably could hit 75, 76, I think. But I wouldn't be able to do much after about 3 or 4 throws. I'd be toast. But when I was in college, I threw between 84, 86 consistently. I hit 88 once. That was pretty badass. But,
there are a lot. This seems to be the year where all of the position pitchers or position players are pitching innings.
I hate it.
Apparently, no one wants to have like a real pitching staff anymore, and so they just start throwing all these position players throwing. So, I mean, you could go Williams Astudillo and just throw 45 miles an hour the entire.
Yeah, see, like, yeah, I hate that shit, and I've been very vocal about it. Like Chris, I know you follow me on Twitter, but when I went on the thing when Anthony Rizzo struck out Freddie Freeman, right?
And everybody was laughing or whatever.
Everyone's laughing, having a good. I'm like, this is. I was like, this is bullshit. Like, why is this being celebrated? Your team's getting your ass kicked. Like I struggle. My competitiveness struggles. Like that's not okay. Like if my team's losing 10 down by 10 runs, why are we laughing about this? Why is this all happy and celebrated? And to go back to what happened last week with the Twins and Yermin Mercedes, imagine he strikes out Yermin Mercedes.
Yeah. Right?
Blasted all over Major League Baseball. Social media is on fire. Everyone's like, this is the funniest thing in the world. Oh my God. He hits a home run and then his manager comes out and makes him a villain.
Yeah, that was just dumb. Like I've never been a fan of the unwritten rules of baseball.
They're bullshit.
Any of
They're
them.
Bullshit.
I think they're all ridiculous. And for anyone in the Twins organization or any of the announcers or any fan to get annoyed by that, it's like, well, I mean, first of all, we've got an entire pitching staff that might as well just be a batting tee or like coach pitch. Underhand, like it's a slow pitching staff in the first place. But if you're gonna get mad about that, it's already a novelty situation that this is going on. You didn't put in Williams Astudillo because you thought that he was really good, and it's not like suddenly now. It's not like It's not like you're dunking on a third grader in a basketball game. Like it's.
I would though.
I was saying to my friend the other day, these kids were playing basketball in their driveway, and I'm like, "Do you have any idea how much I want to run over there and swat with them right now?"
There's a part of me that can't wait to have a kid one day and just put him through the trenches, like just dunk on him, block his shots, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. No, it's funny for like the first 20 times, and then you just start to feel like.
I mean,
and you feel bad, right?
It does make you feel good.
It's confidence booster.
Right.
Yeah, I know. I've been trying to teach my daughter how to throw. I really hope that my daughter is like a really good writer. I think that's the way I'm going to put what I think her sports career is going to be.
Yeah, no, the unwritten rule shit is, and I was really pissed off about what happened with Tony La Russa all that stuff. It just really fired me up because it put a target on Mercedes' back.
Yeah.
And then, it just escalated things. They caused unnecessary drama
Yeah.
You know, at the time they had the best record in baseball, and here you go, and you literally, the dude that is in a sense saved your season because of injuries, and carried the weight for the first month and a half. You pretty much and his stat line since those comments, awful.
Yeah.
He went 0 for 4 today and left 10 runners on base, or 7 runners on base in scoring position. Like he's been awful since that. So like now you're in something mentally has happened, and it's just like, just let the dudes have fun, man. Like I hate that shit. You want to watch somebody have fun, watch Tim Anderson play. Watch him play the game. Guy like Byron Buxton, watch him play the game. Like these dudes have so much fun and they're so damn good.
I would love to watch Byron Buxton.
I know, but he's always hurt.
Make him healthy. I would appreciate it.
He's always hurt. You know, I mean, but Chris, you come Javi Baez. Like, watch Javi Baez play the game, man. Like that is how the game needs to be played. And I bat flips, you know, maybe having some fun, talking a little smack. Like if you're a pitcher, Trevor Bauer, watch Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer talks so much shit on the mound, and it's awesome to watch. And he's come out and said, "You don't want me talking shit? You hit a home run and bat flip. You deserved it. You know how hard it is to hit a home run. You know how hard it is to get a base hit in Major League Baseball. I hate all the unwritten rule shit. You know, but
I do
what are you gonna do?
It's the same way, and it's the same way for me in football. And I mean, taunting, I get, but you know, the celebrations, let them have some fun. That's the whole part of the allure of the game. And blackouts are terrible. I can't remember the last time I've watched a Cubs game because I can't find them anywhere.
Yeah, the blackout.
I'm probably your typical baseball fan. Like I'll watch 2 or 3 innings. I can't sit down and watch an entire game. But, you know, if I see it on and I'm like, oh, I'll flip it on, and then I get that message, I'm just like, I mean, even you can't even suck me in now because you're not even giving me a chance to even watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the blackout rules worst. And the thing too, like I've said this on the Saturday morning pregame, like I don't even like talking about it anymore because it's a dead issue. It's not going away anytime soon. Right. All the bitching in the world that everyone does on social media or we do on radio shows or on TV, like Major League Baseball knows. You know, they know it's a problem. They know it's an issue. The problem is they can't do anything about it. And it's not going to end anytime soon. Well, you know?
Blackouts made sense. So, you know, a decade ago, Vikings games would get blacked out here locally because attendance was so low at the game.
Yeah.
Right? And that makes sense.
Jacksonville did the same thing with the Jaguars.
And so those blackouts I get because why, you know, get people to go to the game. But when you're in the middle of a freaking pandemic and you're blacking out games, you're not.
Nobody can go.
Yeah, you're not doing it to encourage fan interaction. You're literally discouraging fan interaction. That is a completely different approach. And they took something from a period where it made sense and realized the benefit they could get out of doing that to a point where it no longer made sense for anyone. And it just hit their bottom line in a different way.
And nothing makes sense in Iowa. We're blacked out of 6 Major League Baseball teams. We don't have one in this state. We're blacked out of 6 of them. And that means you're blacked out of technically 12 because the 6 and then whoever they're playing.
Yeah.
So on every night that there's Major League Baseball, the state of Iowa misses out on watching half of the league. And that's awful.
That's dumb.
And
that's
they
really
want to talk about growing the game. It's a terrible way to do it. But like I was saying, it's not changing anytime soon. Like Xfinity and all these TV networks, you know, like now there's Bally Sports Network or whatever
that's the dumbest thing. I just can't.
I thought Bally was Bally. Like Bally Total Fitness or whatever.
It's the exact same company.
Like that.
I can't
like all of a sudden they're a TV network, you know.
I can't get used to it. It makes me feel uncomfortable just to say.
But like they're not calling up Major League Baseball going tomorrow saying, hey, we need to stop our contract and allow these restrictions to be lifted. Like it's not happening.
Right.
And Major League Baseball is not going to push for it. Why? Because they're making shit tons of money.
Yeah.
You know? So it's a dead argument for like I hate talking about it, but I mean I have no problem talking with you guys. But like when we're on the air, and when it comes up on the air, and it's like once a week we're sitting here rehashing it, it's like
Right.
it's not
it.
like nothing's changing, you know.
Yep.
Well, what do you think it would take for it to change?
It would take for these networks to the networks of Major League Baseball need to sit down. Major League Baseball needs to say, hey, like there has to be some sort of an incentive for streaming, right? Like they have to make their money somehow. So I don't know, and I don't have the answers for it, you know, right? But to sit there and sell something like MLB TV, which is a great thing and is a hell of a platform. I mean, they were ahead of the game a long time ago by putting this out there. But again, why am I going to spend $130 something on where I'm blacked out of watching half of the league? Doesn't make any sense to me.
And the number of stories, I don't have MLB TV. The number of stories that I hear, though, when I talk to my friends that say, hey, I'm blacked out on my TV and I can get it on my phone. And I don't understand why I can get it on my phone or not my TV. Because geographically.
There are some games like if ESPN, if they're doing like say the Cubs and the Cardinals are playing on Tuesday night baseball or whatever the case is on ESPN, right? Well, and the local regional coverage is still carrying the game, ESPN would be blacked out for you because the regional coverage always wins. So if you're able to watch it on Valley Sports Network, and they're doing a broadcast, but it's also being broadcast on ESPN, and that's the national. Like, oh yeah, we were playing on ESPN on Monday Night Baseball. That's great, but if Valley Sports Network's also carrying the game, they're going to be blacked out from the ESPN game because they want you to watch the regional game. It's so much bullshit that
it seems like they're both ahead and behind on streaming. So they're ahead in that they were the first ones, out of the gate with streaming and understanding that. But I think the model of how people watch TV and live TV in particular
has completely changed.
It's completely changed.
Major League Baseball just they can't get out of their own way in anything they ever do. So
it's kind of like the unwritten rules. There's a whole bunch of old curmudgeons that probably need to move on from the game. That miss the way things were.
You want to know how dumb it is? The White Sox literally their slogan is #change the game, which is all about bat flipping and having fun and doing all this stuff. And their manager comes out and says, no, we can't have any of this shit. I don't want them swinging out there. So you completely contradicted your entire marketing campaign.
Yeah, you shouldn't have hired a manager who's 3,000 years old.
If you're Brooks Boyer, the marketing manager for the Chicago White Sox, like, how do you come back from that? You've created a hashtag that is literally hashtagged on Twitter. And now, like, when people use it, it's like, well, we're obviously not. We're against that from a managerial standpoint. Like,
I saw a story today about the White Sox. They had a special lounge area in the stadium.
This is tragic.
Named after an employee. I think she had like 60 years there, right? She had retired. She had been an employee of the White Sox for 60 years. They had dedicated this whole section to her and whatever, and they changed the name to La Russa's Lounge for Tony La Russa after they had made this big deal and honored this employee and everything else.
Yeah. So they named the woman. She worked there for over 60 years. In 2005, when the White Sox were playing in the World Series, Game 1, they honored her because it was like her last season. They honored her by naming this lounge, which is on the concourse, after her. And someone that must have used to work with her or been there walked past it today and noticed that it was changed to La Russa's Lounge. And he was the one that put the story out there and obviously puts it on Twitter. That gains traction. And right now, the White Sox fan base is like, he's public enemy number one. Nothing like having your manager be public enemy number one of the fan base. And you're also in first place. Like, so that went viral today and that blew up. And the White Sox did confirm that was her lounge. They renamed it after La Russa's Lounge. That's been confirmed. So again, the White Sox once again just shoot themselves in the foot with nonsense.
So as a White Sox fan, I wondered, right? So, with the White Sox brought Tony out of not just, I was gonna say not just retirement, when they dug him up out of the ground and brought him back to the game. Part of it is they couched it to, hey, here's this guy who won Manager of the Year for us 30 whatever years ago. I mean, like, you weren't even alive the last time he managed the White Sox. What were your impressions when they hired him?
Dumb. Just it. So they.
I mean, he doesn't even understand the extra innings game and rules anymore, right?
No, he does not. Well, now he should. So Jerry Reinsdorf, Hawk Harrelson, who used to be the play-by-play guy for the White Sox, was the general manager back in the 80s, and he was the one that fired Tony La Russa. And obviously Jerry Reinsdorf signed off on it.
Yep.
Because he was the owner at the time. And Jerry Reinsdorf is pretty, like, the whole reasoning behind him and Tony are like best friends. And he wanted to bring him back and kind of right a wrong in a sense, and saw this opportunity where I think he wanted to have the safe route, because you have this up and coming, very young, talented team that is like, the rebuild's over. This team's ready to win now. I want a for sure thing, because I don't want to hire a manager and there's all these question marks, right? Like we don't want to do any of that. We want a guy that's going to come in, knows how to win a World Series, has been there, done that, all that fun stuff. And that was part of the reasoning behind it. And it threw everybody, not only the fan base, but everybody in Chicago, and I think everyone around baseball off. It wasn't a hire that was well liked, probably by about 75 to 80% of the franchise. Mm-hmm. It was well known, and Rick Hahn, when he introduced it in the press conference, kind of like, here's Tony La Russa. Like, I didn't make this hire. This is a total Jerry Reinsdorf hire, which it was. Total Jerry Reinsdorf hire, the owner. My initial reaction was why? And why are we doing this? Why is why now, when we're about to hopefully go on this competitive streak for the next 10 years of being a competitive baseball team? Mm-hmm. Why are we sticking to a manager that has been out of the game since 2011? So a lot of question marks. And then, like, reality sets in and you just go, well, what am I going to do? He's not going anywhere. I want him to succeed. But then the season starts, and then, like, it just feels like every 2 weeks we're running into a situation where he does some bullshit, mm-hmm. Or he doesn't know a rule, or he completely outs his player to the media the next day. Like, it's just every 2 weeks something happens, and it's just like, just stop talking, stop doing. Just, I don't know.
It reminded me a little bit, and he's done a little bit better than I thought, but it reminded me a little bit when Arizona State hired Herm Edwards, who hadn't coached in forever and a day, and in, like, his very first press conference just sounded so out of touch and confused, and he's like, how the hell is this going to work out? And they've had mixed success with him over the last, I guess it's been like 4 seasons now.
Yeah.
But sometimes you wonder how much of that. I mean, I wonder this with La Russa, right? You guys are in first place. How much is that because of or in spite of him? You know what I mean?
I'm calling it now after the Mercedes situation last week. Sox are on the Spite Tour 2021. Mm-hmm. What I care about is the 26 guys in that clubhouse. What I care about are guys like Tim Anderson, Lucas Giolito, Jose Abreu, Yohan Moncada, the guys that have been here the last 4 or 5 years that went through all the bullshit and the rebuild and all that nonsense. I want those guys to succeed. And we talk about, like, on the Morning Rush, I've told Travis, like, if the White Sox somehow, some way, with all the injuries and all the bullshit, win the World Series, he'll be the first manager to ever get booed at a World Series parade.
Oh, sure.
That's how much disdain that the fan base has towards him, and he doesn't help his situation at all. Like I said, every 2 weeks, it's something happens where they're just like, why are we doing this to ourselves? But he's not going anywhere. So it's just like, just waiting for another week or so, and then he'll say or do something stupid, and he won't know a rule, or he'll bash a player publicly to the media, and we'll be still somehow in first place, and then it'll get forgotten about, and then another 2 weeks will happen, and it'll happen all over again. So
we will see. We will see. I want to give you a chance to give a little shout out to your podcast and to your Saturday morning show.
Yeah. So I do
By the way, I've been bruising. I can't find that sub hat anywhere. Was that special just for?
So I got this specially made. We have like our sub merchandise and everything like that, but the hat I got specially made, and it's a one of one. But the idea behind it, now there is an idea to actually sell the hats, in general. And kind of do with like what we did with the t-shirts and all that. For those of you who don't know, we made sub t-shirts that went with kind of the, themes. Like I wanted to do college themes, mainly for like a tailgate shirt type idea. So like for Iowa State, we did like Sup Ames in Cardinal and gold. We did Sup Des Moines in blue and white for Drake, Sup Iowa City in black and gold for Iowa, Sup Cedar Falls for UNI fans in the purple and gold. We did a Sup Iowa one which is in black and baby blue, which is the colors of Iowa Chill, because we do a lot with the guys from Iowa Chill. And then we just did regular plain black and white Sup stuff or Sup shirts.
What is anyone else doing merchandise in the color of Iowa?
Oh yeah,
like universities in the state of Iowa, Chris.
Yeah, we just lost last week though.
Yeah, ours has been out since I would have been, when did we release it? Probably like November, December, I think, if I can remember right. But yeah, the podcast is me and my buddies, and we just talk about our lives and what's going on, and somehow, some way, people listen to it and care, and we've got sponsors, and we have a VIP section named after us at a bar, and it's become a thing, which is it's cool for me, like it's awesome. But yeah, just us talking about life and what we're going through, and whether we go out to a bar or like my buddy just had a baby, so we talk about that and being a new dad and us being 30 years old and not knowing what the hell we're doing or anything, stuff like that. But yeah, the pod, we actually haven't recorded an episode in about a month because our producer / guy that does all like the editing and everything, my buddy Jose, he's the one that had the baby. So he's kind of like on baby watch and doesn't know when he can get away and all that type stuff. So we've kind of put a halter on that, but we're trying to come up with ideas for more content until we can get back to recording. And we've just did some stuff like Justin Smool, who does our gambling podcast. We have a gambling podcast attached to our company. And Justin is a pro golfer and also kind of a professional gambler that just moved back from Vegas. So he works out at Hyperion Country Club in Johnston. But me and him just did some cool, we just shot a commercial the other day. I can't say who it's for or when it will be released because it's kind of a pitch commercial. But hopefully that gets launched and it'll be kind of cool to do. But I was his caddy. I'll just put it that way. I had a whole caddy get up going on. But yeah, our Ball Don't Lie podcast is awesome. And him and Teddy, our business partner, they run it, and they win a lot of money. And it was something that we always wanted to do, is to have kind of a separate gambling podcast. And they're really good at gambling. So, but yeah, and then the Saturday morning pregame, it's on every Saturday, 8 to 10 on KXNO. Myself, Eric Zamora, our producer, Justin Miller. We have fun, man. I want that show to be fun. I want it to be something that you can turn on a Saturday morning, whether you're driving to Home Depot, you're driving down to the farmer's market, you're getting to run your kids to the little league or whatever. I want it to be fun. I want it to be energetic. I want it to be exciting. And obviously keep you up to date on what's going on in the world of sports. But yeah, we just want to have fun with it. And the ratings reflect the ratings reflect it. And which was awesome to see. And so we're doing something right. That's good.
It's a perfect time for me. I can get out of the gym right around 8 o'clock and turn you guys on and listen to you on the way home, and I'll usually do some stuff around the house and try to podcast the rest of it and listen to it. But it's good stuff. I will say, I said this once to you when we were playing golf. You're missing out on a chance to do live call-in from tailgate, where people can tell you what they're grilling and what the tailgate atmosphere is. So I'm just saying, if you need a correspondent for the Iowa State tailgates, I know.
Well, no, here's the thing: is
FYI, anytime I can pitch ourselves, I've been trying to finagle a spot into that Cyclone sound off spot with Heather. I brought that up to her when we were
there. Hey, there you go. You got it. Here's the thing, Chris. I full on support, and I will be very adamant about this football season. Come Saturday mornings, if you're out there tailgating and we're on the air, I want pictures being tweeted in. I want videos. I want phone calls. I want it to be a 2-hour, whether it's in Iowa, whether it's in Iowa State, whether it's at UNI, whether it's Drake. I want it to be a tailgate show. That's the point of it, is to be a tailgate show and to lead you. If it's an 11 o'clock kick, we're leading you up to kickoff. If it's, if it's a 2:30 kick, hopefully we're kicking off your tailgate the right way. I want it to be a tailgate show for college football season. Now, where we're at now, yeah, we can break down hockey playoffs and do all that and really try and dive into all the fun sports stuff crap that we can, whatever. But come football season, football for 2 hours. NFL, college, if you're tailgating, if you want to chug a beer live on the air, I don't care. Call in 284-5966. Chug that beer live on the air. That's what I want. So,
all right. Well, there you go, Tim. That's your chance.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I will. I will call in from not tailgating up here in Minneapolis, but from couch tailgating, and I'll do the same.
That's fine. That works just fine. Just put on the surround sound, act like you're around a bunch of cars and all that. But if you just want to say I'm in my living room and just want to chug a beer on the air, then that works. I will say the last time when we did our show up in Ames 2 years ago for the Iowa State Iowa game, we were finally coming to an end to our 4-hour show, and I was just I was beat, mentally just drained from. It's a long show.
You had to do sound off that night, didn't you?
I got off the air and I pretty much got my car pieced back to Des Moines, and then the game got delayed. So I was sitting in the studio. We were up till 2 a.m. doing that. So we left to go up to Ames that morning, me and Emery, at 3 a.m. To beat traffic and find out where we were. And I was on the air till 2 a.m. So I almost did 24 hours. That was a long day. But I remember that we were wrapping up that show almost, and it was our last commercial break. And Ted Flint came by our stage, and I didn't care what was happening. I took my headphones off. I ran off the stage, and I had a AD, some listener stopped and gave us a bunch of Busch Lights, and the Busch Light guy was on the stage with us, so I was drinking one, and I think I had 3/4 of one left, and I ran off the stage with my beer. I saw Ted Flint, and I just was I just started chugging right in front of his face, and we chugged a beer together during a commercial break. So that was my memory of the Iowa State game. Pretty much was that. But hopefully, there's a lot more of that stuff in store, and we can be up there. And I would love if we had the opportunity to do that again this year up in Ames, especially with how big that game's going to be. That would be badass. So hopefully, we can get put up there for that Saturday. That'd be sick.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna have to come down for a game this year. I'm just gonna have to do it.
Just gotta. I might have a couple tickets for the.
Chris goes to you go to every game. You got season tickets, Chris?
I do have season tickets. Yep.
Yeah, my dad used to have season tickets, and he dropped them a few years ago, and I'm always a little disappointed on that one. So yeah, Chris, you'll have to fill in for my dad, I guess.
Well, so here's the thing. We are planning. I'm planning with my buddy, my other friend Tim. He's got a RAGBRAI bus, and 2 years ago we did the Iowa State game. And let me tell you, we got a late start heading up there, and I was watching Twitter, and everybody was bitching and complaining that there was nowhere to park, and the traffic was insane. And I was like, I'm not sure we're gonna find a spot with this fucking bus when we get up here. And We get up to the side of the stadium, and they had it blocked off to the right where you would go to like Vet Med or whatever. And I told my buddy Tim, I said, hop off and run down to that lot and see if they have any spots. So he's running down there. We're stuck in traffic. Sure enough, they got a spot. So he runs back with the parking pass. The cops let us in, and we slid right into this front spot. It was the luckiest thing you ever fucking saw in your life. I don't know how we got
there. You go.
But we're gonna try to do it again in 2 years. So anybody wants to ride up, you guys want to ride up with us, tailgate, it'll be a good time. So
we'll do a live pregame show.
There you go. There you go. I'm gonna ask you one more question, and then we'll go. And if Tim's got anything else. So we always try on here to to enlighten people and to give some advice and whatever. We talk dad stuff or whatever, but I'm going to ask you how would you measure success, and by that measurement, who is the most successful person you know?
Oh shit! My measure success is happiness. I think no matter what you're doing in life, if you're happy, that's success. If you get up and you love what you're doing, if you get up and you're loving life, if you get up and you're being a good person and you have a good family and you're a good family man and you're doing all that, that's success. I don't look at it as money. I don't look at it as, you're some CEO of a company. Like, yeah, to some people that is success. Like that's the pinnacle of business or whatever the case is. But for me, my success, what I look at it is, am I happy? And if I'm happy and I have a good life, I have, good girlfriend, great dog, that's success. Like I'm successful right now. That's a success for me. And because I'm happy, I wake up every day and I'm happy. I get to wake up and do something that I love doing. I get to be a part of it. And that's how I measure success, is happiness. The most successful person I know, man,
based on that definition,
you can say me. It's fine. I won't be. I won't be.
I would. It's gonna come off weird, but I think just an overall, one of the most successful people I know is Brooks Reynolds. Does Bacon Fest. Yeah. Brooks he's become a good buddy of mine, but he's one of the happiest guys I know. He is one of the most giving people that I know. What he does for charities and fundraisers and all that. Obviously, has he had financial success? Yes. But he's done well with that. And but he's just so happy. He's always happy, and he always wants people to be involved in everything and wants people to be happy around him. And he's one of those people that you cannot put a smile, you cannot not have a smile on your face when you're around Brooks. And to me, that's a successful person. If they can have that impact on you to where, that's what I try and be. I want people to have smiles around their face when I'm around them. And I want people to be in a good mood and that. But I would say Brooksy's probably, just on an overall human being, business, all that, Brooks is probably one of the more successful people I know. Off the top of my head, without even really thinking about it.
It's all right.
Yeah, no, I like that answer. I think that's good. Someone who can kind of find balance and enjoyment in all areas of life, I think is that's certainly admirable. It's something that I've struggled with. So I appreciate that answer for sure.
Have you got anything else?
No, man. I kind of hijacked some of this with a lot of baseball talk. I don't talk. I could talk baseball people, day. So that's somewhere I probably could have gone on for hours with that. So Sean,
listen, I'm sure that 3 or 4 White Sox fans that are in Central Iowa will love it.
Sorry, man. We've got a lot of White Sox talk. I like it. I don't get to do it much. So
yeah, no, this AL Central, I got to talk with someone, and just all the Twins fans are bringing me down. So, no, I appreciate that, Sean. I appreciate you coming on, taking some time to chat with us.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward. I'll actually be down in Central Iowa this weekend, so I'll make sure to pop on KXNO on Saturday morning and give you a listen.
We won't be doing a show this Saturday because Memorial Day weekend. So, but
well,
you can always catch us on the iHeartRadio app though.
Oh, well, then perfect.
We'll be back on the air next Saturday.
All right. Well,
John, thank you very much for giving us your time and giving us coming down here on to the lowly ranks of Old Man Strength.
Hey man, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. And hey, don't worry about listens. Don't worry about any of that shit. If you guys are having fun, if you're having fun, that's all that matters. And don't let any of that stuff ever stop you from doing something that could become a hobby or a passion. Like, just keep going, man. Just keep going.
Amen.
So appreciate it, boys.
All right, man. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Yep.
See you later.
Yep. Have a good one, guys.
Yep.
Look at us all be professional and everything else, Tim.
I think the longer we do this, the more we're figuring some things out, which is good. I just get really encouraged by the guests that we have had. The whole impetus, the whole conceit of this podcast is that we're learning lessons. We're teaching lessons and we're learning lessons. And I feel like I learn way more lessons than I teach on this podcast. And that's someone a little bit different, younger than us, taking a very different path in their life than either you or I, but is still someone who's frank and honest and someone who's trying to learn as he goes and share a lot of that as well. So that was fun to talk to him.
Yeah, you can find wisdom in a lot of different areas in a lot of places, and sometimes you tend to. Sorry, we have a visitor.
I was gonna say sometimes you can find wisdom in a lot of places, and then Caitlin walks in.
Caitlin, when we're trying to have a serious conversation, is making these little puppet things, trying to get me to giggle and laugh. Do you realize we're still recording, right? I mean, you're the third host here anymore. It's gonna be a long summer.
Some ASMR.
What is that?
Oh, good Lord. No, don't even get into it. Don't let her introduce ASMR to this podcast. Someone else. So while Caitlin is here, a friend of mine has a 15-year-old daughter, and she had just told me today that she likes to misuse slang in front of her daughter, and she brought up bussin'. And I started freaking out because I was like, I just learned about that word this last, a week or two ago. I just learned about bussin'. There was one that she did bring up, though, that I did not hear last week. Gang.
Gang.
Yeah. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Oh.
Gang.
Just because
you just say, and it's like, I'm getting ready to roll out. I'm like, gang.
Yeah, confirming plans or getting ready to go is basically the way it was sold to me.
That's one phrase I could have lived my life without knowing.
I forgot to put on sunscreen today.
Well, that plays well for a podcast that can't see it.
Falling off the rails.
You can just edit my whole part out.
Oh no.
All right.
Yeah. It's going to be a long summer.
Yeah, man. You started off this podcast talking about how the boys are graduating and you guys are kind of moving on to the next phase of your life. But I think this summer is going to make sure you're firmly entrenched in this part of life for what feels like a lot longer than 3 months.
Absolutely.
Well, good, man. Well, shoot, I this one was a little bit different for us, but I absolutely enjoyed it. I love when we can just kind of sit down and have a conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
So good guest. Well, with that, anything else?
Well, we got t-shirts for sale, sweatshirts for sale. So hit up Old Man Strength on Twitter. We've got the link pinned to the top. And I think next episode, Father's Day episode, we'll bring out some Melvin-isms. How's that sound?
I am looking forward to that. If there's one thing that I appreciate every Father's Day since I've been a father is how little I know as a father. So it will be fun to learn from the wisdom of Melvin. I'm
getting rounded up some Melvinisms that he used to tell people, and maybe we'll make a nice little top 10 list.
I love it. Yeah, I think that's great. Excellent. Well, thank you, everyone. You have wasted another, hour and a half with the two of us. Hopefully you have enjoyed your time as much as the two of us have, because we always have a blast doing these. But this has been another episode of Old Man Strength, a podcast of the Tailgate Society. Please check us out on the web at thetailgatesociety.com, as well as all the other articles, podcasts, and other tomfoolery that goes on with the Tailgate Society crew. A bunch of great creative contributors with a lot of great stuff out there. So please check us out. Check us out on Twitter, as Chris said, at strength_old, at SciGradSciDad, at Tim Johnson MN. And with that, we will see you guys next time.
I don't want to get on the bandwagon. I'll burn that wagon down and join the band. Traveling troubadours, terrorizing street corners just to try to get some supper in our hands. Now I waited all my life to get this off my chest, scream bloody murder until someone understands that it ain't about the money, the drugs, or the women. I make this noise just because I can. And we'll all join in to that original sin.